All right, so this is my story about, I'll call him Stanley, a student I had, I don't know, a long time ago, 15 or so years ago. Um, I'd taught 34 years as pretty much a middle school, junior high math teacher. And spent my first 22 years just teaching kids math. And A kids got A's, the B kids got B's, and so on. The F kids got F's, and I really didn't know how to help a kid move to a higher level. I just taught math to kids, and it was kind of up to them to learn it. And I'd had the F kids throughout those years, and just didn't know what to do. And I think most of them didn't improve much, and it was very frustrating. And you just kind of quietly got used to that. And anyways, something happened with this Stanley kid. After a couple weeks, he hadn't done anything. And there's like two kinds of F kids. They're quiet, nice F kids, or they're disruptive, obnoxious F kids. And he was a quiet, nice F kid. And he wasn't disruptive, and he just hadn't done any homework, hadn't really tried, hadn't engaged, and just kind of sat there. And called him home after a couple weeks, and the mom's like, well, she'd given up on him. Sounds like several years ago. And he's just like, well, he just doesn't try at school. He hates school, and I don't know what to do. And so I go in the counseling center and go over his records, and he was fine first and second, got decent grades first and second, and then from third grade on, he's just pretty much straight F. He'd get like a C in PE. Talking to the counselor, trying to figure out what to do. At our school, we had like math lab, where if a kid was struggling in math, they would get a elective extra math class where they'd just get extra help, extra reteaching, and extra time to practice. And I love teaching those classes. And but I only had 7th grade lab classes that year, and I didn't have any for 9th grade. And so I couldn't give him a lab class of mine, and he, I don't know, or maybe there wasn't even one for 9th grade that year. I can't remember, but anyway, there's nothing we could do for him. And I finally asked the counselor, can he be my TA? My planning period was 3rd period, and I'd never had a TA my whole life as a teacher. And a lot of times I didn't have a planning period. I would teach 6 on 6. I would teach all 6 periods. But this year I had a planning period, and the counselor's like, you sure? And I was like, yeah, I want to. He goes, okay, well, let's try it for 2 or 3 weeks, and if it doesn't work out, we'll switch the schedule back. And I'm kind of, not literally, but I'm in my head patting myself on the back, thinking, what a good guy I am. I'm gonna try really hard with this kid for 2 or 3 weeks, and if it doesn't work out, we'll switch him back. And so I'm walking from his office in the main office to my room, which was room 2, so it wasn't very far a walk. And I'm starting off the walk, kind of patting myself on the back, thinking what a good thing I'm doing. And then I'm a Bible believing Christian, and I just started feeling convicted. It's like, wait a second, because the kid's in my room. Stanley's in my room waiting for me to come back and talk to him. And I don't know how that worked out. But anyways, he's in my room waiting. And I just convicted. It's like, wait, you're proud? You're actually gonna tell this kid that you're gonna try really hard for 2 or 3 weeks, and if it doesn't work out, we'll switch his schedule back. You're proud of that? Like, you're just gonna be another person who's just gonna give up on him? Because the chance of him turning it around like that in 2 or 3 weeks are pretty slim. And I walk in there, and he's sitting there, and the words, this is the first time I ever said these words to a student. I never said it to a student before. I said, I'm going to love. Oh no, first I told him what we talked about in the office, what we agreed on. And then I told him my conviction on my short walk, how I was convicted that that it's just wrong for me to offer that to you. And then the words came out of my mouth. I said to him, I go, Stanley, I'm going to love, encourage, exhort, and challenge you relentlessly and unconditionally. I'm never going to give up on you. You can just not try every day, and I'll come back and try again. I mean, and I want to do it the whole year. I don't want to give up after 2 or 3 weeks. I want you to be my TA for the whole year. And this was like, middle or, well, maybe towards the end of September, like September, 2 or 3 weeks into the year. And so it's his choice. And he just kind of, I go, what do you think? And he goes, yeah, I'll try. We'll try it. I said, okay. So I have no idea what to do. I mean, how do I fix this kid? How do I help him fix himself? I mean, which one is it? Or is it a combination of both? Or I just didn't know. So we just launched, and I told him that. I go, so let's just try this grand experiment together. I mean, I'm not going to give up. And even if you want to, I mean, I'm just going to keep trying, and let's just see how much you can improve and grow. That's all I'm looking for, is just improvement and growth. That's my desire for you. And so I spent like a month every day. I mean, just talking to him, listening to him, got his story. His parents had got divorced in 3rd grade. That's why his grades dropped off in 3rd grade. And it's just kind of been tough ever since for him. So every day I would just talk to him, and then I would give him like a pep talk, a dad or coach kind of pep talk. And I actually had, the second day, after the first day, I went to the library and got that rollout, paper that's on a big, the big roll hanging on the bar, with the bar across where you can tear it off. And I put it up above the whiteboard in my room, and I would write down our talking points for each day, like what we talked about. And I just started listening. And I was just trying to get into his heart and his head, just trying to, I decided early on that I need to get him to believe he can learn, which was right. I mean, I stumbled onto, I feel like God helped me, pick the right path there to just focus on the heart and head. And so we talked about like forgiveness, bitterness. I taught him like the 5 levels of understanding, just hope versus expectation. Some of the stuff was for me as a teacher, where just, man, I mean, I try really hard and I just want to give up. I'd get so frustrated. And anyways, he, after a month, it's like, I felt like, okay, I think, he believes he can learn, and I think he wants to learn, but he doesn't know how. He spent 6 years doing nothing. So, went to the library, got another piece of white butcher paper and taped it up to the side of the first one. And it's like, okay, what are the characteristics of an A student? How does an A student think? How does he act? What do they do at school and at home? And I just started really watching my A students and thinking about it and asking them. I would interview, after a test, I would interview my A students and ask them what, the next day I'd say, like, Bob, you got a 94%. What did you do in class and what did you do at home that helped you get the 94%? And at first, they had a hard time really answering that question, but over the months, they would get better and better and be able to give more and more specific answers. And the kids would hear their classmates say what they did to be successful, and I'd challenge them to pick one. And you know, thing that you heard your classmates saying, trying to do that this next chapter. Anyway, so that was like another month of that with Stanley, and now it's we're getting into like November, and I'm sitting there, and now I'm starting to like spend half the time with him and half the time actually doing work, like planning and grading and stuff, and letting him just work on homework. And I look up, I'm at my desk, I look up, and he's red faced, and I walk over, and he's got a question, and he doesn't know how to do this, and I show him again how to do it, and he's like, oh, and then he starts working, and I go back and sit down, I look, and he's not, his face, his countenance is fine, he's not like red, he's not like angry or upset, and I go, Stanley, and he kind of looks over at me. I go, you were red faced, you were like upset. And he's like, shrugs, like, so? I go, oh, you're starting to care. Oh my gosh, you're starting to care. You actually believe you can do this. And now comes the hardest part. It's easy to get an F when you don't care. But to get an F when you do care, this is the hardest part right here, Brad, or Stanley, not Brad, Stanley. This is the hardest part, when you care and you still get an F. So don't worry about your grades, just worry about doing what we're talking about. Let's just focus on improving. Let's not worry about your grades, because he had dug himself a big hole. But I told him in my class, you passed, I give a final, I go, you passed the final, you passed my class. Because I gave a pretty tough, comprehensive final, each semester. But his other teachers didn't do that, and he just knew that he was toast. And anyways, I'd go home and tell my wife, it's like, oh, I really had a great, just all these different days. I'd go home and talk to her about what a breakthrough I thought I had with him, and how, okay, now tomorrow he's going to have his homework done. And I'd come back the next day, and he didn't have his homework done. And I was like, oh, ugh. And he ended up failing everything first semester, and it was just so hard for me. I mean, I just put my heart and soul into this kid. I mean, and it was super hard. So I learned a lot about myself also, which just really helped me, and to persevere through that. And anyway, second semester came along, and then he started trying. He started applying all the stuff that he had learned first semester, and because he had a fresh start, and he got B's and C's. And I coached wrestling. He even came up for wrestling and made varsity. And so it was, and I did that my last 12 years of teaching, and it was so cool to see F kids become C, B, A students, D kids become B or A students, C students become an A student, B students become, I mean, it's not like all my kids got A's, but I had the ability to help every kid improve, grow, achieve, because I just helped them. I pulled the curtains back and taught them about the importance of believing in themselves, and how that affects their attitude and their effort, and then taught about the skills, what they have to do to learn. And anyways, it was just awful fun those last 12 years, to see kids improve and grow. So anyways, that's my Stanley story.